New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Greetings and blessings, everyone. Grand Rising Consciousness. And welcome to another New Thought Media Network presentation. I am Rev Rodney Gittens, and we're talking about science of mind and spirit, and specifically what it does. It's for those who may not have watched the previous shows, you certainly can go to the archives and watch those who have come before. We have Victoria, who last Saturday, and upcoming is Tracy Brown next Saturday. And, so you get the comprehensive talks about the science of mind and spirit textbook. And so we're talking today about what it does. We've already covered how it works and what it is. Now it's just what it does. And what is it? For those of you who may not be so accustomed to new thought concepts and vernacular, what it is God. Very simply put. I mean, there are so many names for God. And thank God there's so many names, so we don't have to subscribe to just one name. What it is could be called so many other names. I mean, different religions have different, I think in Islam or Judaism, there's like 100 names for God, or 99 names for God. And so it doesn't matter. Whatever religion, whatever your understanding, whatever your belief in one God, you name it what you want. Whatever, what difference does it make? As long as there's an understanding of it. And that's the important thing. And so many of us come from different traditions, different religions, different customs and communities that have a different name for that one power, that one creative source of all that there is. And so I think it's important that that's not so important what we call it. Call it. We call it whatever feels good for us, what works for us. And it doesn't have to be the same as anybody else's. I like the word it. I've come to an understanding of what that means for me. I like it as an acronym, IT, not intellectual technology or anything. IT, to me, is the infinite truth. And what is the infinite truth? That God is all there is, or the creator is all there is, or the infinite divine intelligence is all there is. There's only one thing that has created everything out of itself. And that's why I like to call it it. And again, everyone's feel free to call it whatever you want to call it. However, what it does is what we're talking about today. And it's interesting because it is, to me, the original AI. AI is artificial intelligence. We're talking about the intelligence that precedes all intelligence. Um, we can call it the AI absolute intelligence, or abundantly infinite, or the affirming indwelling power. That's AI for me. Very organic. Uh, Now, being indwelling doesn't mean necessarily positive or negative or even neutral. It just is. And it does what it does. It does what, how we say, it do what it do. It is what it is, and it does what it does. Based on what it is, means it is always ready, willing, able to do what it does, to do what God always does. And God always says yes. And I'm going to use the word God and infinite mind and supreme being or creative mind or any of those. You'll know we're all talking about the same thing, the one. And I truly believe, and I definitely have proof, that God always says yes, regardless of what it is, even if it's something that I don't like. It's like, my goodness, how did that thing happen? So what we're finding out is that what it does is it's going to respond to nature. It's like to the nature of our thoughts. And so what you secretly or not secretly, verbally or non-verbally, frequently uh, attend your thoughts, your focus on your thoughts, well, then this creative mind is going to take something with these thoughts and create something, whatever it is, the focus of our thoughts. And since our thoughts are creative, and the thoughts that we think go into the creative mind, then the creative mind will accurately, it's accurate intelligence. It listens. I mean, it's all about prayer. You pray, and you pray, for what? For something, some manifestation, some answer. Prayer is a question. The manifestation, is the answer. And the creator says, okay, well, we're going to bring about what you focus on. And quite simply is a way to say, well, yeah, that's what it does. That's what it's intended to do. It just doesn't just happen. As a saying, it doesn't just happen. It happens just according to how you believe. And again, and here's a quote. It says, the Spirit can only give us what we can take. It says, it imparts of itself only as we partake of its nature. It can tell us what we can understand, us only what we can understand. The infinite knowingness becomes our wisdom only to such a degree as we embody its intelligence. That's Science of Mind, page 4041. I'm saying this quote is important because there needs to be an alignment of understanding. If you're, I mean, and these are all governed by law. So, and what I mean by that is you can only receive as much as you can conceive in your mind. A lot of people wonder about, well, how come I'm not getting this or getting that? And especially when it comes to things that seem very important, like money. It's like, gee, I'd like to be a millionaire. And very often you'll hear, well, do you have a millionaire consciousness? Are you able to embrace what that means, not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, can you actually see yourself having this and enjoying it and living with it without stress, without fuss, without doubt or fear? Then we know, hey, we're in alignment. And so what has to happen for this alignment? How do we get to a point where we can partake of the nature? It's like let me put it very simply. If you're in a room and it's full of all the oxygen that you need, however, you believe that you can only have this much oxygen, what are you going to do? You're going to breathe in just as much as you believe you can hold in. And that's going to be your experience. There's a room full of all the oxygen you could ever use, except you think you can only have but a little bit. You take short breaths because you don't think there's enough. That mindset is all you can partake. Not saying there's anything wrong with it. That's just as much as you believe that you can handle. And so I want to bring up another quote, Science of Mind, page 40. It says, unity must be established. All right. We have to establish in our minds that what it is that I desire and I are one. And it says a conscious connection must be made before we can arrive the benefits which the greater mind is willing to reveal or impart to us. And so it's like, well, where am I with that? Where is my belief with that? How much do I think, again, that I can partake of? How much I can handle? There's another quote that says, there is one nature infused throughout all nature, one God incarnated in all people. Okay, so again, we're with the concept of unity, the concept of there's nothing separate. I'm not separate. We're not separate. You are not separate from nature. Nature is in us. We are in nature. Okay, so we're aligning our minds, our thoughts, our beliefs in this concept of oneness. Like there's only one. There's a saying further along in the Science of Mind text, and many of us use this in our prayer treatments. It's like there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect, and that life is my life now. Or you can say that life is our life now, because there's only one life. When I talk about oneness, and when I'm doing prayers and I'm uniting everyone in consciousness that we're all on the same page, we're all of the same mind, the one mind, I like to say we are ones of the one. So there is only one. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that before. It's almost becoming a cliche that there's only one, not just there's only one God. There's this life that the Creator has made everything out of itself. So we are intrinsically, we are unavoidably connected. Can't help it. That's just the way it is. And so along with this concept of oneness, of unity, we have to realize that there are laws by nature, natural laws that get to be used and obeyed. Well, there's a quote also on page 42 in the Science of Mind text. And it says, the laws of the universe are to be trusted, but we must come to understand them before we can use them once understood. Any law is available and is impersonally responsible to each and all alike. And so it's really important to know that the laws of the universe are there for us. How does it say? The law is no respecter of person. It doesn't judge. Natural laws don't judge. It rains on the just and the unjust. There's so many ways of putting it, that the law is impersonal. Anybody can use the law. We always do. We already do. Okay. That's one of the interesting things, that we are all using the laws of nature, whether we are aware of them or not. However, it is important to know how to use them, to have a greater understanding of what we're using. It's like if it's a car, here's a car and the keys are in the car. But if you don't know how to start a car, you just get in the car and you're like, okay, let's go. Well, you're not going to get very far. You have to know the laws. turn the key, or well, okay, I'm showing my age. You press a button, but you have to put your foot on the brake before you press the button for the car to start. Okay, so that's the law. That's how it's going to work. Okay, and it's the same thing with this law of nature, the laws of nature working in our lives. I don't mean just the physical laws of nature. We're talking metaphysical, because this is a metaphysical study. This is a science. And everyone, whether you know it or not, on some level, you're a metaphysician. Excuse me. And we are using these spiritual laws, or laws of spirit, of mind and spirit that work together. So here's another quote I want to bring up on page 44 in the Science of Mind. If you're following along or not, it's okay. It says, since understanding of any law must first pass through our conscious mind, you have to be consciously aware before we can make use of it, it follows that with all our getting, we should get understanding. And so, yes, I want this, I want that, I want to get this, I want to, get all the riches of the kingdom, the treasures that are here for me. I inherit the kingdom. All right. However, if there's no understanding, I can inherit this car and don't know how to use it. Okay. And how many of us do that? We see what we want. All right. And then we don't have an understanding of even how to get it or how to use it when we do get it. And so, I mean, it's this stuff can be very simple. Humans are known to complicate situations. Maybe you may be aware of that. Maybe you've heard that somewhere. However, you think about how easy it is. I mean, children, and I want to use them as an example also, they are manifestors. They just do what comes to mind and want to jump into it at full speed. Do you know any kids like that? And the young, especially the younger ones, they don't seem to have any inhibitions. We have to teach them not to run across the street, look both ways. We have to teach them, don't touch that. It's, but they barely think and do. Yeah, they barely think and then they want to do. They don't know how to use it. They just want to do it. And we can use some of that energy. We can use some of that thought process in the belief that it's doable, that, yeah, of course I can do that. It's not even a question in these young ones' minds, until we teach them how to put the brakes on their desires. We want to make them into adults or adulterize them, So, however, they get it, that there is this energy bursting within them that is ready at all times to be at one with the thing that they want. I remember I was at a conference in Vancouver. We had a gathering, annual gathering, this Centers for Spiritual Living. And I was with some friends who were walking around the streets of Vancouver, and we decided to get some ice cream. And while we're online, there was a father, believed to be a father, and his daughter, a little girl, and she's just bouncing and couldn't wait to get her ice cream. And I mean, the joy within her was just overwhelming. Everybody online was just so thrilled with her exuberance and excitement for getting this ice cream. And Daddy got her the ice cream. However, as soon as she got the ice cream, she couldn't stop, and she was jumping in, and she had an ice cream cone, and the ice cream fell off the cone, But it was that sense of aliveness that makes such a big difference when we know what it is that we want. Now, what was missing? She didn't have the knowledge on what to do with all that energy once she got what she wanted. And how many of that happens to many of us? We, in our exuberance, we step over and out of bounds with what it is that we desire. Sometimes we don't know how to treat it or handle it, and we kind of miss what it is that we really want to get because we didn't have the understanding. And here's another quote on page 44, and it says, "The universal mind contains all knowledge. It is a potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much as possible, as much as we can conceive according to law. Okay, so that little girl didn't understand the law of gravity. She didn't know about, movement. She didn't realize that her actions were going to go against what she really wanted, was to enjoy the ice cream. She wanted to enjoy having it, and she did. But then there's that other part, the knowledge and the wisdom. Once that happened, she got another cone, and she was able to kind of throttle that energy and control it and contain it so she could actually enjoy the ice cream. Yeah. So she could conceive it, However, she didn't have the knowledge and the wisdom to actually enjoy it at that moment. So it was possible for her to get it. She got it. And there was still law that was going to happen, to her, or that she was able to use. At first, she was a victim of her own overzealousness. Yeah. And then she was able to learn from that. So she was able to use that knowledge in the moment and that unlimited potential to have what it is that she got and enjoy it. And, here's another quote, and I love this quote. It says, "Life always becomes to us the particular thing we need when we believe that it becomes to us that particular thing." This is so personal. Okay. Life is going to work for us when we embrace it. You're like, oh, whatever it is that we desire, it only is going to happen when we believe it, so much so that we feel it's a part of us. I bought my car. Well, it's a long story. However, the car I bought, I did visualization. I cut a picture of that car and I put it on my wall, and I put my little photo. I had a little photo. I cut me out, just a headshot, and I put it in the window of that car. And every day I put it on my wall. Every day I'm seeing this picture, so much so that times I didn't even remember that I had to see it as I'm coming in and out of my apartment, until one day I'm looking for a car. The car I'm driving is falling apart, literally. Steering wheel came off of my hands and all. However, I went to the dealership, and just when they're about to kick me out, a mechanic comes in and says, "Hey, a car just came in. Maybe you'd like it." Of course, it was the same car that was sitting on my wall for months. So I had embraced it so much, even though I'm looking at other cars. And you know what was also happening, and maybe it's happened to you, that when you make a decision on, hey, I want that, then you start seeing it. I started seeing people driving this same car all the time. Now, they didn't just get that car and all of a sudden they're just parading it in front of me. This was happening all the time. But once I embodied what it was, all of a sudden, that particular thing became so close to me, it had to manifest. Yes, does that make sense? And if you have any comments, feel free to bring them up. I apologize if I haven't been seeing them. I just realized my screen was off to the side. So thank you, Wayne. Yes, primal substance loves you. All right, absolutely. And so this is what we're talking about, using the power. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily want to believe that they have the power. I'm not talking about, the cartoon He-Man or any of these other cartoon figures, and, they can transform themselves in a moment. Like, with the power, I can do all these amazing things. But each of us has the power and the capability of thought. We started out saying that, well, thoughts are things, but there is this creative power in our thought. Not that our thought just goes and makes it happen. Our thought impacts the creative mind. It goes out, God hears your prayer, your thought, your prayer. Same thing. Here's your prayer, and takes action on it. Says, oh, is that what you want? Oh, well, okay. Okay, let's make it so. So here's another quote I want to bring up. It says, the mind must conceive before the creative energy can produce. We must supply the avenue through which it can work. It is really is ready and willing. Its nature is to spring into action through our thought and action. So it's ready. Nature is like, ready or not. I'm ready. You said this is what you want. You're putting your feeling into it, your belief into it, your faith into it. Here it is. Here it comes. Question is that really what you want? See, as we mentioned before, it is no respecter of persons. It's like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is, well, that's what you said you wanted, and I felt it. I felt it in your prayer. I felt it in your belief. I could feel your faith. Now, again, it's neither positive or negative. It doesn't matter. The universe is like, well, that's the imprint that you put out there, and this is what comes back. And a lot of us will look at other people, if we don't like the way that the politics are going, because people get into office that we think like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be good, but they're using the law as well. They're working on their own belief, their own creative thoughts, and the power behind it. They can use it just as well as anybody else. People say, well, why does evil happen? Well, those things that don't seem to be in alignment with human nature, or the better part of human nature, well, that gets empowered by their thoughts, their beliefs, by their faith, just as much as anybody else with something so-called positive. So it's not about blame. It's not about, well, who they think they are. Well, they're using the law just like you can use the law. That you can use it. It says, well, name it and claim it. Your wish is my command. That's what it does. That's what it is. Do what it do. All right, it's not going to say, I don't like the way you're thinking. No, you can't have that. It doesn't do that. We'd like it to. We wonder how. Now, quite honestly, some people will attribute something outside or external, giving it power, like they might call it the devil or Satan or Elzebub or whatever name they want to put on it. However, no. Well, actually, we know Satan, Sata, and the Latin root means error thinking. That's all it really means is you had an erroneous thought, a thought that you really, really didn't want to happen, but it was an error in the thinking. But it empowered it. You gave it strength. I don't mean you. I mean, this is what happens in our human condition, in our thoughts, in our minds. And I remember many years ago, somebody said, be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it. And then you got to pray for it to be removed. Same, the same use of the law, except now I have a little better understanding. Okay. And so, yes, thank you, Shay. Thank you for being here. And if anybody has any other comments, feel free to put them in, whether you believe it or not. Say, hey, what are you talking about? Put that in there too. Yes, absolutely. So now here's something that's really important. Also, we would say that the law, and this is a quote, it says the law is an attribute of God. Now, God did not make law. It causes with the eternal. The infinite law and the infinite intelligence are two sides of infinite unity. They balance each other, and they are great personal and impersonal principles in the universe. They are the outworking of the mechanical and the evolution is the inworking of the conscious and the volitional. So basically, what it's saying is the law and the intelligence of the universe. They are part of the same, they're united, part of the infinite unity, and they balance each other. They work with each other. It's like love and law. Uh, they seem like they're not in harmony, but they are. It's love rules through law. So the law is like how can I serve? Love is the ruler, and law says, well, how do you want me to do it? Okay, and that which is not our concern. Our concern is not how it does what it does. We say, hey, I need this done. Okay, and we don't make a blueprint for the law to get it done. It knows how to get it done on its own. So love is spontaneous, it says. This is on page 43. We don't have the quote written down here, but it says love is spontaneous. Love is impersonal. And also that there is an infinite spirit operating through infinite and immutable law. And also that love points the way. Okay, your heart points the way. Yes, love is the answer. Love is the way that I get to want to do this. And law makes it possible. Love is the way that it gets made. So the law, is physical and metaphysical. It brings that from the invisible into being visible. And so it's really important that we also get to understand that these things work like without our permission, and that's why it's important to be careful about what we think about and the frequency of our thought and the power and energy that we put behind that thought. That's why it helps if you really want something to happen, you become single-minded. Okay, your focus is clear. A lot of people say, oh, I'm confused. I don't have any clarity. And you're wondering why things are happening haphazardly or not to the fulfillment of your desire. It's like, and that's because where's our focus? If you're only focusing on something part-time, you're going to get a part-time outpicturing, experience, manifestation, experience. That's just what it is. The more, and that's why we say, hey, the more you devote to whatever it is that's your desire. Think about a musician. If they only practice once a week, it's very unlikely that they're going to be proficient in any expedient amount of time. Or, it just may take a whole lot longer to get good at that craft. Or, it could be a carpenter. It could be anybody who's learning how to do something and wants to do it well. You have to use not just your thoughts, but you put in your heart into it, right? Isn't that what we say? You have a thought. This is what I'd like to achieve. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. And then we put our heart into it. Is that enough? I ask anybody, is that enough for any of you? They're like, well, my heart's in the right place. You've heard that before, right? Well, if your heart is in the right place, what's next? I know there's a saying, it's biblical, and probably every religion has something like that. It says, faith without works is dead. We have a saying about spiritual mind treatment. That's our form of affirmative prayer. Prayer without works is dead. It's like, we say treat and move your feet, pray and get in the way. You're going to get out of the way at first, but then pray and you will be shown the way. It's going to come. However, they say you have to pray in a righteous way. You have to pray rightly. You have to pray with an understanding that we already talked about. We are using our thoughts of prayers. Thoughts are things. Prayer, it doesn't have to be formal. Like, you don't have to get on your knees to pray. You don't have to, be in a supplicant mode, or I think that's the word, where you have to prostrate yourself to, make yourself so vulnerable, like, I am not worthy, do with me as you will. You don't have to do that. If it works for you, fine. However, what I'm saying is, prayers, the thoughts that you have, you're putting into words, and maybe you're vocalizing them if you have the power of speech. But if you don't have the power of speech, you still pray, can't you? Okay. And so, however, maybe you're using words, maybe you're using thoughts and images. You're putting your heart into it. Yes. And if you're putting your heart into it, what's next? Because remember, your heart is beating. That's energy. Okay. So, yeah, I'm feeling that vibrancy backing up the thought. And then what's next? If you're sitting in a room and you're hungry, and you're like, wow, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm really hungry. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to get some food. I am really hungry. And you got the right thought and you feeling your heart's in it. What's next? Or maybe you need to pick up the phone and call Uber Eats or get up and go out and get some food. Your prayer is being answered. You're getting the answer. Get food. Oh, okay. So this is all part of the process. And what it does, it provides the answer for your question, for your prayer. Prayer is asking, as you may have heard, asking God, and meditation is listening for the answer. Okay, it's the same thing. Meditation doesn't have to be a long, formal, drawn-out process. You can sit still for a minute and have meditative minute, and that answer can come to you. Or you could be walking down the street on doing whatever you're doing, and you can be in such a mode, like washing the dishes or cleaning the house, and there's not any formal thought process going on, but you're open, and that can be a way of meditating. And in doing so, we open ourselves up. We are that channel to be unified with that which is that we are in communication with, talking to God. Well, is it a one-way conversation, or is it going to have a chance to do what it does? It's going to hear you and respond. All right. So that's the power. And that's so much of how it works in our lives. This is what it does. This is what the infinite truth, the infinite indwelling presence, God, the whatever word you want to use, this is what it does. It's here for us, for our use. And so in summary, basically, we have to prepare ourselves with the knowledge, okay, with uniting ourselves with this understanding, with this faith. And so when we're thinking, so-called thinking, I don't want to get too much into that. Sometimes we call thinking, we're actually remembering. We're like reminiscing, or rehashing what has already happened. That's not necessarily thinking. So when we think, we're being open. We're using the creative juices. We're not trying to necessarily recreate something that already happened. So when we think, something happens to thought. Now, again, do we want? Unless you're really trying to recreate something that already happened, which of course you can't, because it's never going to be exactly the same as what it was before. Okay, so there is some level of creativity in that. However, when we think, something happens to thought. The field through which thought operates is infinite, right? We call it infinite possibilities. They call it, infinite worlds, infinite dimensions, infinite multiverses, universes, multiverses, right? We can't think that Earth is it. Wait, we know there's other planets, there's other galaxies, there are other star systems, right? So, we know that besides that physical realm, there's a metaphysical realm of unlimited possibility that is based on your thought, because you can think anything. and you can change your mind and think something else. And so there is no reason to doubt it. There's no reason to doubt the infinite, never ending, eternal, right? Because the only limits that I'm putting on life is the limits that I create. I can only go but so far. I can only breathe in this much. I can only have so many millions. Oh, I can only have $10 out of a million. Well, if that's I cancel that, right? But if that's the belief, well, that's what's going to show up, because I can't see past whatever limiting belief I'm creating. Nobody else said. And if somebody else says it, am I in agreement with it? Do I have to agree to accepting less in my life? Says who? Okay. So again, there's no reason to doubt that there is a field which thought operates through. When you think, where does it go? When you pray, where does it go? It goes into the infinite. Yes. So, and we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. It's infinite. There's no limit. I'm not putting a limit on God. Okay, let's put it that way. You can call it whatever you want to call it. There's no limit. How can we put a limit on God unless we're making God in our own image, and we are limited beings? We are finite creatures. There's an expiration date on this physical realm. All right, but that which is not physical is infinite. Okay, and even in the finite world, when things disappear, when they so-called die, when they change form, when they transition into something else. It doesn't just stop there. Atoms and molecules don't just poof, gone into nothingness. They poof into another form whenever that happens. Okay, so energy, it changes form. Okay, however, does it really disappear into nothing, no thing? And so we have to ask, how much of this infinite good is ours? How much of this oxygen is mine? How much of the good that I desire is mine, is yours? Well, and not only that, but how much of it do we have to use? Not you have to use, but how much of it is there for me to use? You go to the beach, and we talk about this law a lot. You go to the ocean, it looks unlimited, and you want to get some water. Do you go with a thimble or a bucket? Okay, how much do you believe that you can actually have and use? It's up to you. Okay, it's people will say, hey, well, that's a prosperity consciousness. How much can you actually conceive? And we talked about that earlier. Okay, you believe, you conceive as much as you believe. Okay, it's not going to work any other way. And so, how much of it we have for our use? As much of it as we can embody. It's up to us. If you can embody it, if you can feel it, like that little girl with the ice cream cone. At first she couldn't get any of the ice cream. She didn't embody it. She was controlled by her emotions, and so there wasn't knowledge kicking in. There wasn't wisdom kicking in. But the second time she got the cone, she got to enjoy it. She got to embody it and actually use it and get the desired result. And that's what we do. We are allowing ourselves to unite in mind and spirit, and our heart energy, and embody. And this is a principle, that corresponds to our thought. Okay, biblically, could be very easily said as above, so below. There's a direct correlation. Above is a thought, below is the manifestation. What it does connects. It makes a connection. We're united. He says, yes, I feel your energy. You believe it. And so it is, and so it's going to happen. So shall it be, and now it is, and that's so much of what it does. And see, it doesn't do it unless we are in aligned with it. We have to remember that. What's our job is to let it do what it does and help it to do that. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there like a car with the key in it. Engine's not even running. Our job is to use the knowledge so it can do what it does. So, are there any questions or any comments? Anything that anybody wants to remark? Could be anything. Yeah, well, thank you. Wisdom is with you, because you know why? We're all one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. There's a lot of programming here, all different ways to get spiritual information, spiritual wisdom. And here it says, enjoy our programming. You can please donate also to keep this going. www.ntmedia.org. Click on donate. New Thought Media Network has been around for a while. We want to keep it going and keep it increasing and providing quality information for you all. And so thank you very much. Thank you, Peter and Wayne. And I know I saw some other people in attendance. Thank you, Shay. And spread the word. Also, remember, you can share this. You can click share and let people know what's going on. And thank you. Love you too. And this is the energy that makes a difference. This love energy. You see, love points the way, remember, and the law is the way that it makes it happen. So in love and light, peace and blessings, everyone. We'll see you next time. God bless. And now it is.